Okay, well, so hi everybody, and welcome back to another video episode of Faith Brunel's Insights. I'm Faith Brunel, and today here we have Gurupma. Hopefully, I've pronounced that right. So I'm going to hand over to him just to briefly introduce yourself to the listeners and talk a little bit about how your day's been so far.
Yeah, so my name is Gurupma. Most people know me as G, and my day's been going well. Thank you very much for asking. How's your day been going?
Yes, I'm glad that it's been going well. My day's been very well, thank you. As you know, we had to reschedule the call last week because unfortunately I was unwell, but I'm back up and running now. So it's just been well. It's been well. Unfortunately, it's a bit rainy here in Birmingham, but I'm pushing through, and thank God I'm actually inside. So that is a benefit. So I want to get stuck in to your wonderful and inspirational journey, talking about how you really focus on personal growth and development with a range of people, with business professionals as well, and young people. I just want to talk to you about kind of the inception behind the G Team Academy. And I just wanted to ask you, can you share like a pivotal moment or experience from your journey that inspired you to create the G Team Academy and coach leaders?
Yeah, so I mean, GT Academy, it's basically the end result of something that I was experiencing when I was about 15, 16 years old. And
Yeah.
that was, I was looking around me at my life and I was looking at where I was going to be and I was looking at the people and I realized that the people around me were not where I wanted to be in life, right? I wasn't inspired by them. I wasn't motivated by them. And I ended up just going on like a YouTube rabbit hole and I started listening to people like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, Eric Thomas, like people that were inspiring me, people that were telling me that I could be better than what I thought
Yeah.
I could be.
Yeah.
And from there, I always had that kind of spark in me that, that is, I want to do more with my life. But I never really knew what it was. I just knew that I wanted to push myself, I wanted to try new things, and I wanted to be ambitious with my life. And then from there, I've always just taken on any opportunity that I could for my own personal development. And slowly, people started to ask me, like, hey, I see you're doing all this stuff for yourself. You're waking up early, you're taking 4 showers, you're going for runs, you're doing all this kind of stuff. Can you help me to also
Right.
do this stuff? And from there, I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And I got so much satisfaction out of helping other people. Like the fact that people even come to me now, it still amazes me that I'm in a position where I can actually help others. And I was like, you know what it is? If I can turn this into something where I can build my life around it, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. I just thought about, okay, well, if I'm helping people, how can I go about helping people? And
Yeah.
we tried everything under the sun. We did talks, we did workshops, video courses, conferences,
We did it
and we
all.
ended up,
Yeah.
yeah, we really did. Ended up settling at coaching because that's where we felt like we could have the most impact, especially with leaders who are in positions of high influence.
That's wonderful, really, because as you said before, like you channel the way the way it's how you felt in your personal situation that you didn't feel motivated or really driven to do anything, excuse me, based on the kind of company that you were in, and but then you were able to turn that around by actually seeking the right sources of inspiration and information really to get you to the next stage. And I
Mm.
think one thing I always really emphasize to the listeners throughout all of my podcasts and interviews is that you have to make sure that you have the right thing that actually inspires you and engages you and pushes you to the next level in order to be your tipping point moment, as Malcolm Gladwell would term it. So it's really important to see and really interesting to see how you've actually navigated through your own struggle and through coaching. As you said, that you came to coaching after doing a wide range of activities with people. You realized that coaching was the best way that you can actually channel your personal experience and inspire really the next generation and leaders to get to where they need to be, which is wonderful. So excuse me. So right. So you mentioned the importance really, in some of your works as well as going through your LinkedIn, just to really kind of gain insight into what you're doing and to, into your ethos and your values and what you do. And you've talked about the importance of taking responsibility for one's life. How do you guide individuals in embracing this responsibility, especially when they may not have had the space to do so before?
This is a really good question. And the answer isn't as satisfying as I think it should. So, in my personal experience, it's very, very difficult to guide someone to take on responsibility for their life. And the reason why is because people's belief systems have been built up over a long period of time. And to break them down or reframe them, it's a lot of work. However, what I found is that we all take responsibility for things within our lives to some degree, right? If we didn't have
Yeah.
responsibility, we wouldn't be here. So for me, it was about figuring out, okay, what things do you actually care about? And then using that, leveraging those things that you already care about and figuring out how you can use that to apply it to different areas. So,
Yeah.
for example, let's say someone doesn't care about their physical health, right? But they really care about, I don't know, like collecting stuffed toys, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. If you say, look, okay, you really care about collecting stuffed toys, this is what you want to do with your life. However, if you don't take care of your physical health, you can't do that. And immediately it raises the importance of like, okay, I need to take responsibility of this thing so that I can have the thing that I really want.
Yeah.
So it's about leveraging people's personal motivations that they already have rather than trying to introduce new ones, which I find is extremely difficult to impose that on someone else particularly.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well because you're getting people to actually understand like the importance of certain things and aspects in their life that if they want to continue doing something that they value, they have to actually, as you said, you gave the example of physical health. They have to make sure that they're physically ready and agile and able to actually do that thing and really prioritizing their physical. I'd also say that prioritizing your mental health is of utmost importance as well, that you don't become burnt out, that you don't become worried or distressed, that you actually make sure that you are in that space in your mind where you feel comfortable. And I know that a lot of people have spoken about imposter syndrome where they feel like they don't belong. And so really I can see that what you're doing through that work is really getting people to actually understand, that in order to do one thing well, you have to make sure that everything is ordered and get them to actually, it's not like a hierarchy of importance. It also kind of goes back to Maslow's needs. And I think that like the hierarchy of needs and thinking about what do you actually need, to achieve to get to the next level. And that really kind of
Yeah.
stems into another question of mine. Can you provide an example of a transformational change that you've witnessed in a leader or an individual through your coaching?
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually interesting. I stopped coaching someone yesterday. We basically reached the end of our coaching time frame.
Yeah,
And I've been coaching them for about a year and a half. And man, when I first spoke to them, their main challenge was that they didn't enjoy their career. They were in a leadership position, but they didn't enjoy it.
yeah,
Right. And we actually have a form that we ask our clients to fill in at the start and at the end of the journey so we can see how much they progressed. And at the start, they said that out of 10, their satisfaction was a 5.
right.
Right. And understanding why it was a 5 was something that never really came across them. Like, okay, I don't feel good about work. They felt anxious when they went into work. They didn't know how to deal with the problems that they were having when it came into work. They didn't know how to confront management about certain things that they were doing wrong. So what we did is we sat down with them and we broke it down, and having that space where you can just talk about what's going wrong was so important for them to figure out where is the actual problem? How do
Yeah,
we define it? How do we generate solutions? And from there, bit by bit, we managed to figure out, okay, look, this is what's in your control. This is not what's not in your control. We decided that, look, the culture that they were in at work wasn't something that they were in a position to change.
yeah,
And instead, we managed to find them a new job that was much more aligned to their own personal values, where they were still in a leadership position, but it provided them with the security and culture that they needed for them to truly grow. And we just finished the last submission of their report yesterday, and they said that their fulfillment level within their career now is a
wow,
10 out of 10.
yeah,
So it went from a 5 to a 10, and even to
that
be able to
doubled.
see that, yeah, like that was a crazy result for us. I was asking them, like they said that they've been having a really stressful time at work recently as well, and I was like, okay, how are you feeling about that? And they're just like, it's weird. I'm stressed, but I don't care. Like I'm not personally bothered.
Yeah,
Before, when I used to get stressed, it used to be like a burden on them. It used to like hold them down.
yeah.
However, now the stress comes and they know how to manage it. They know how to deal with it because they have the correct systems and stuff in place.
So like I think that's really it's really interesting actually because you've helped them to really navigate through a hard time in their life. They're working in a job that they're not really satisfied by, and you're actually helping them to navigate through both their feelings and their emotions, but also like in terms of their end goal, as you ask them, like what do you want to get from it? Like are you comfortable? Are you happy? So that's looking at the mental health, and there's also their well-being really in their life as well. Do they feel like they've achieved what they need to achieve? And I think really like what you're doing through the G Team Academy is you are providing a solution to a problem that many people face where they are stuck, they feel stuck. And what you're doing is you're helping them navigate. So it's great to hear that actually about kind of, that is an awesome result, you know, in terms of someone starting at the beginning with a 5 out of 10 satisfaction to kick, you know, to literally like catapult into the end of your journey to actually having a 10 out of 10 satisfaction. That's amazing. And, you know, it really actually goes back to the faith beyond insights mantra. It's not an event, it's a journey. Your journey can begin now. What we do here is helping people to start that journey. So really that's excellent how you really spoke to them about where are you, and giving the example of stress. You know, yes, they're stressed, but it's not like a personal burden or a blockage. It's just something that's just there. They're getting on with it because and I think what one point that you mentioned was that you can't change the culture. You know, you can't change the culture. Let's just focus on what we can change. It's about your attitude towards that and how you actually deal with certain issues. And so, in your view, what are key qualities or attributes that define a successful leader, and how do you work with your clients to develop these traits?
Okay, so the number one thing that is absolutely essential for every leader, no matter what industry that they're in, no matter what kind of leader that they want to be, is being able to have a vision for where they want things to be. If you don't have a vision, you don't have a direction. If you don't have a direction, you can't lead anyone because you don't know where you're going. Right. So the fundamental thing is vision. The next thing that I found is really important is ambition. Right. Any vision that you have that's worth striving towards is probably going to be difficult to some level. There's no visions that I've had within my life that I've tried to pursue without encountering some sort of obstacle. That's always going to be the case. If you've got ambition, it makes it so much easier to get through any obstacles that you're facing. So that's the second thing. And then the final thing I found is being open to learning, right? If you have those three traits where you can have a clear vision, you've got the ambition, and you're open to learning, I genuinely believe there's not a vision on earth that you could create that you can't move towards.
Yeah, really important. As you mentioned, you know, you have to have a vision. That really goes back to, you know, as a Christian, that goes back to a Bible verse that I'm actually very familiar with, which is Proverbs 29:18 from the King James Version, which talks about, you know, where there is no vision, basically the people perish. Which basically goes back to what you're saying, that there needs to be a vision, there needs to be a strategy, there needs to be something in order. If you're going to be leading, as it says in the Bible, and as it really says in your goals, talking about vision, you have to have somewhere where you're going. You have to have ambition, as you said, and you have to be willing to learn. Because if you are, you know, what I always talk about in my study kind of tube content on YouTube and in the podcast is this growth versus fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset where you're stuck, you know, where you take your failure as, you know, the end of the world and you don't actually learn from it, you're not growing. But it kind of ties into what you said about learning. Having that growth mindset means that you are able to, you know, to take certain aspects and segments from your failure and actually pivot that and push that, you know, to pivot your success. And it really goes back to a quote that I love from a man called Booker T. Washington, who was one of America's first Black educators. And he said that success is not about where you are, it's about the obstacles that you've overcome to get to that success. And it's a quote that I've used many times and will continue to use because it demonstrates the importance, the sheer importance of your journey. And just kind of closing now, excuse me. So I know that, so we've actually kind of talked about one of the questions already about the strategies, and you talked about the vision that really ties in there. I want to talk to you a little bit about the world now, and talking about where, you know, you're building a world, you know, where leaders take responsibility for their change, and that's a very noble mission. Can you share some of the challenges that you've encountered in pursuing this goal and how you've overcome them?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge I've encountered with this is actually dealing with myself.
Right.
And what I mean by that is anytime that you're on a mission, anytime that you're trying to get something done, your biggest enemy, the one factor that's going to make it harder than anything else, is your persistence.
Yeah.
And I found that the times that have been the most difficult is not because the obstacle was difficult. It's not because the obstacle was impossible to get over. It's because my levels of motivation, my levels of ambition, my vision wasn't as clear as it should have been. And understanding that it actually ties back to me was the main thing that I realized when it came to answering this question. If my mind isn't right, then there's no hope. Then there's no way that I can get through anything. So I think that's the biggest obstacle that I've faced when trying to pursue this and trying to get other people to see it. I have to fully believe in it. I have to fully commit to it. And if
Yeah.
my commitment's not there, other people are not going to follow the vision.
Yeah, I think that's really important as well, because like it just start with you, so you have to be ready to actually be able to deliver a service to help people. And I think it's it's very humble, it's very honest of you to be able to admit that you struggled with actually, with yourself, what can I do? And sometimes,
Mm.
as I said before, it goes back to what we said in the beginning, in the beginning of the episode, from the outset, that imposter syndrome, a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of people think that they're not worthy of where they are. And I said, as you said, it wasn't the obstacle that was big. It was your mindset. It was like how you felt about yourself and the skill that you can bring to the table. And finally, really, this actually goes back to your personal routine. I actually saw that boxing and exercise play a part in your daily routine. How do you believe physical fitness and mental well-being are connected to effective leadership and personal growth?
I think that they're essential to being a leader. I know for a fact that if I'm not physically taking care of myself, I'm not in a position to be leading other people.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in leading by example,
Right.
which is why for me, I go to the gym every day, right? I prioritize it because I want other people that look up to me and other people that are on my team to be like, well, if G's doing it every day, I can do it
Yeah.
every day. I actually have one of my team members that we have a challenge, um, Sabrina. So basically, we agreed that every day I do 100 push-ups. Every day she does 100 squats, and we test each other once it's done. And
Yeah.
while it's like a nice accountability thing, from a leadership point of view, I think it's so important as well because what I'm doing through that is teaching someone, look, your physical health is really important,
Yeah.
but I'm also proving that I believe it by actually going through and doing it myself.
Yeah.
And when I've
Yeah.
been working with people who are, in high stress situations, who are getting close to burnout, one of the first things that you can guarantee if they're getting close to burnout, how much are you exercising? I'm not exercising.
Yeah.
How much time have you got for yourself? None.
That's important
That's
as well. Like, yeah, like, singling out time for yourself in your busy life, your busy schedule is imperative, because you have to have time for yourself to unwind, to relax. As you said, leading by example is important. You can't tell people to go left and you're going right. You have to be consistent. And I think that as a leader, from what I've really gathered from you, from asking these questions today, you really seem like somebody who's really an inspiration to other people, because not only do you have, not only do you have the guide or the framework that they can emulate and actually implement, but you actually implementing that for yourself and leading by example. So thank you very much, Gurupma. Thank you very much. I think I just pronounced your name wrong, didn't I? At the end.
all right.
We're getting there, everybody. We're getting there. So just remind me again, and for the listeners, in case they actually want to talk to you or have a coaching session.
So my name is Gurupma, but most
Gurupma.
people know. Yeah, that was
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you, Gurupma. We got there.
No,
For your thoughts, for your insights as well. Can you talk to me just finally about how the listeners can get in touch with you after the show?
yeah, definitely. So you can follow me on Instagram at Gurupma, so just my name, or you can get in touch on LinkedIn if you've got more professional inquiries.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate I really appreciate you coming on the show today on the Faithpreneur Insights podcast show, to actually talk about your journey and what inspired you to create the wonderful and really beneficial G Team Academy. Excuse me. So this is your host, everybody. As you can see, everybody, I'm literally fighting my cough now. I'm still recovering, but here I am. So without further ado, everybody, this is your host, Faith Brunel, signing off. Have a good day.